Okay, guys, so we're here today with Ronald. Ronald's from Property Pathways, making big moves in the design space. He's going to talk a little bit about himself today, and he's going to give you guys some hard facts on construction, what to expect in the design phase, and just a lot of information on the industry in general. So, go ahead. You can check out that camera there, Ronald. Sorry.
This one, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's small
no
little one.
worries. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll cut it all look good. The stream's the only one.
But yeah, so as Nathan says, I'm an architectural designer based here in the city of Toronto, and we focus on missing middle type projects, but we also are starting to branch out a little more into sort of the mixed use space, so a little bit of commercial experience. But I think, rather than giving a kind of a resume, I mean, we can talk about anything really, right? Just because I'm coming from a background where it's kind of an eclectic collection of experiences that all make no sense, but all come together to create the person and professional that I am today, right? While it's is good. Like again, it just depends on the client that I'm doing. But I'm always thinking like, how can I improve the presentation for the client, right? But also understanding too, clients aren't really interested. A lot of clients, they aren't interested in all of that stuff, right? In fact, I put together, like in some cases, I would put together a proper presentation because that's the quality of work that we do, a good presentation. But then a client might just say, "Could you just send me the drawings on a sheet?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on a two, like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that's all they want, right? And that's okay, right?
Yeah, but what I will say is that, okay, sometimes like, yeah, you send a drawing on a sheet and they review it, but having you, like having been through the process with you, actually having you be there and like explain it before sending it to them, be like,
Yeah.
okay, after this meeting, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, yeah.
It avoids a lot of the questions that
Oh,
they
big time.
potentially have.
Oh.
And like big clarifications, like certain things like why you had to adjust things in a certain way or whatever. So I found that really nice.
I It's not only nice, man, it's necessary, but clients don't know what's necessary. And I like to say clients is not always right. Like there's that saying like clients are always right. Like no, clients are not always right. In fact, you have to tell them what's right and tell them what's wrong and let them choose. Right? So yeah, so I would actually give them both options. I'd also, it's part of our process. We have to do that live 3D immersive walkthrough of the project, regardless if it's a basement suite or it's a commercial reno fit up, right? We have to do that process. And when we go through that process, that actually stimulates, is a presentation like any other presentation. It now allows you to start thinking about, well, what if? What if? And those are the what ifs is what actually defines the ultimate end product, right? The design. So I think it's really necessary that people see it. Because to your point, when you look at a 2D PDF, a flat drawing with no data, no information really in it, is what you're looking at is what you get. Remember, like a building is more than a flat 2D layout. It's a full 3D volumic experience, right? Yeah. So that's what we try to give clients. I will say for the most part, all clients, they appreciate it, but they don't understand it because they never actually experience it.
Yeah.
So they never experience it.
Yeah, and I think another good thing you do, it's like you take them through, you hold their hand like through the whole entire process.
That
Like
can
from
be
the
exhausting,
first
man.
meeting, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
like literally from the first meeting all the way to the end, it's like, okay, like, hey, we're gonna have a meeting coming up this week. We're gonna go through the first set. It could be like,
Yeah.
by the end of the process, have like 30 meetings. But like, I kind of feel like having that hand holding and guiding them through, it just makes everything just way more streamlined, you know?
Look, man, I'll tell you, on a simple residential project, minimum we're spending is about 3 hours of just meeting time with the client. That's just like me sitting down with them and walking them through design layouts, right? But we are doing this at a lot of different stages. So we're doing an onboarding. That's usually an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Then we're taking any type of phone calls to answer questions regarding that, the fee proposal. Then we're going through once we get on site, that's another hour to 2 hours. I am on site engaging with the client again, explaining to them what it is we're actually doing, how we're going to do it, what are some of the pros and cons of their property, whether commercial or residential. Like, how are we going to look at that? kind of mapping out what is a potential design we can do. Then, of course, that I always say that when we actually on site, whatever we do following the site visit supersedes what we discuss on site because there's a lot of parameters. But then we go through that process again once we have the digital sort of assets, right? The digital twin, the 3D immersive walkthrough. We then take that and we bring the client into that space with us and walk it. So that in itself can take another hour and a half to 2 hours again, right? But here's the thing, you don't really know you need it until you actually receive it, right? Yeah. And you're like, whoa, okay. So after you have gone through that process, now you have a very clear idea of what the end product is going to look like before you commit to building it. But then that's really helpful for you, the builder, as well. So bringing you onto that call, right?
Yeah.
Like, like the last client. How was that different from what it is you did before? And how was the value of that?
Yeah, 100%. Very different. And it was good to be part of the whole process, because like if you can kind of let the client know, like, hey, like, okay, this price, if you want to have this, like, let's say heated floors in the bathroom, like they had mentioned to us before, it's going to bring up your price this much. And then they can weigh the pros and cons, And you guys give a lot of detail on your drawings, which is really good. Yeah. Like, I don't see that often. Not with that much detail.
Not at this scale.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get that when you're looking at high-rise buildings, maybe mid-rise, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But we, again, coming from the commercial world, having worked in many commercial spaces, AC industry, different sectors, I've looked at more drawings than people can imagine. And in fact, like I always say, like the most difficult drawing I actually looked at ever, and maybe there's more difficult drawings, but is a type of drawing called PNID. PNIDs. I think it's a process and instrument drawings. Those drawings are crazy detailed and a lot of electronics and different. It's very But again, I can take a drawing like that and I can dissect it, look at it, and I say it's a different language. So for me, drawings is a language, and you use language to tell stories. So to me, a drawing is supposed to tell a story, right? Like you should be able to look at the drawings without anybody there and read the entire thing and figure out exactly. So if I'm a builder and someone send me a drawing and I need to pick up the phone and call them, they did not do a good job.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And that's very inefficient.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there's people that don't even believe in having drawings in general. So it's more the client, like they'll just be like, hey, we don't need a drawing. Honestly, it could just even be like an addition, not an addition of a home, but like let's say a main floor renovation, where they're refitting out the place. Me personally, I like having drawings just because there could be a misunderstanding between what the client wants and what we are offering, So having a drawing, make sure that we're all on the exact same page. You know exactly the height of the cabinets you're getting, the depth of the cabinets you're getting, like from it could be something like the floor, the type of floor, where the floor is cutting off, or it could be like we're talking about the cabinets. So I think that it's a valuable thing to have drawings in general. And then to have detailed drawings, it's the icing
next
on the
level.
cake. Yeah.
Well, the way I like to put it is saying this way, and because I talk about this all the time, by the way, right, right, bro. I talk about this all the time, and the truth is like you actually just use the analogy there. Say, are we on the same page? Well, let's actually look at that analogy holistically. It's like I say, like, are we in the same library on the same street? Then are we in the same? If we're in the same library, are we in the same aisle? Right? Yeah. Are we in the same aisle, right? Okay, we're in the same aisle. Then are we looking at the same shelf and set of books? Then, okay, now that we have the same book in hand, are we actually now we can start talking about pages, right? Like now are we on the same title? Okay, now we're in the same title. Now we're on the same page. Okay, now we're on the same page. We still got the line, then the word. And then after that, we still are we understanding what we're reading, right? So it's like there's a whole array of and that's the complexity really that goes into drawings. And that's why, so I use that analogy, but from a design drawing standpoint, it's like I may just draw something and I can just hand it to you. And I say, Nathan, you understand? You say, yeah. And honestly, what do you understand about what it is I'm saying? Are we on the same street here? right? Are we on the same street looking at the same library, right? You can be in Burlington and I'm in Belleville, right? You know, and we think we are the same library. No, so it's really important to just kind of just really make sure everything is detailed on the drawing, and then take the time to explain that to the homeowner. But and that's why I think it's very important to have a builder on our design calls. It's not that I don't understand construction, but I want to make sure once I explain the designs to the homeowner, that they can now kick ideas off the builder that they're talking to that's pricing the job. Because I don't want them thinking like, oh, I said that the kitchen, we have to reconfigure the kitchen. They're like, oh, like, well, he said reconfigure the kitchen. He maybe mean taking out this kitchen, putting it in a side room, and then putting it back in place. Well, that's not a perfect world, but there's never a perfect world in construction, right?
Do you ever find that like there's clients that want to just work with you and not have the builder in on those calls? Like, or they're pushing towards that or something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I would say a lot of times clients are essentially thinking what always happens. I would say 90% of the time, a client will come to us through a builder, right, and a contractor, a renovator, and we'll work with the client, but then through the process they realize that the important part is the planning. If it's not planned out well, then actually the contractors know this, right? You as a builder, you know this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like if you don't have proper documentation, then your ducks are gonna go quacking, man.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know what I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah, it's true.
Everywhere. It's like, oh man, like how do I actually,
Yeah.
like what goes where? What's like, how is this thing costing on there? So
I agree.
that's it, yeah, man. So I'll tell you, man, a lot of times people are failing because they fail to plan. You know, they say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it just so happens that literally what we do is called planning, right? It's like, okay, you're planning out the project. You're literally, and that's how my mind is built. And I think a lot of people, I was just saying this to a group of people that I'm mentoring just recently. I was saying to them that, a lot of times you want to think financial aspect of any project. Doesn't matter if you're throwing a party, if you're going to paint a room or renovate a room, or if you're planning to do a full new build. You must have the financial aspect like to the letter. But if you don't know what you actually are going to be doing, then planning the finances doesn't make sense. You'll have this budget that actually you won't know if it's coming in, like if you're coming in good, if you're coming in bad, if you're breaking even, and so forth. So, I really stress the point of really understanding what is the best use of the space. And this applies to even a fit up, a fit up like this, like finding out, okay, what needs to go into a a conference room, right? Chairs, TV. I can see a whiteboard here. I can see another equipment, cabinetry, electrical, telecommunications, internet. Like so heating, cooling, lighting. So you have to think through all these things because everything that I just mentioned also can have a high range and a low range, right? Like who's going to be occupying the room? Is it C suites or is it like
Yeah.
So this is all going to dictate.
100%. You can even tell when they haven't planned. Do you see
Yeah.
this? Well, this was not us, but there's just an extension cord that comes right across from here.
Yeah, like it should have an outlet on the
It
ground.
should have an outlet on the ground
Right.
because there's one here and another one there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Like that's not enough outlets for a room where there's like, I can see how much seats here. There's like maybe 12, 15 seats here.
Yeah,
Like when all these people come in here with different laptops,
exactly.
like what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like now
Someone, you already tripped. You were here for less than
That's
5 minutes. Already almost tripped on
again,
this thing.
not proper planning. And then
Yeah.
there's a whole other aspects about ergonomic table and aesthetics. And so I mean, look, Dan, that's not my field. Like I don't do colors and color swatches and stuff. I'm not into that stuff. But there's a lot of technical aspects to it. Regulatory piece of it, that's where it is we excel, right?
Would you offer that to a client though, if you like, if they asked, like they
Yeah.
wanted to go through like the whole little, like pick the materials and the little aesthetic things around the house or on the property, you can take them through that?
Absolutely. So we have members on our team that can do that, but again, it's not going to be lumped in with our building permitting and development planning type service because it's a completely, if in fact most if you look at big firms are very, very niched, even though they're niche in the sense like they may only be doing high-rise buildings, right? Maybe or mid-rise. Let's say 20-story buildings, up, whatever, 15 units a floor, whatever, right? Like that's kind of that's their niche. That's what they're focused on. Now, with that said, they're only going to, you'll see on a big project, they have, let's say it's in a heritage area, they're going to have a heritage consultant. They're going to have a landscape consultant, structural consultant, mechanical, plumbing, they have HVAC, they have, everything is separate. You look at those guys, the fees and so forth that they're charging is very separate. They will have an interior designer. They may even have an interior designer that has an interior decorators. And like, so there's all these different aspects of a build. So on a small scale, clients don't even expect this, but if they do, they somehow think like you're gonna lump all this in. It's like like these are all specialized fields. So if we did work with a client on that, they would have to allocate a certain amount of funds for that, and I would have to allocate a certain team member to that to handle that well. But yes, I think, to be honest, while it's easy just to do a room, throw some paint on the wall, and say it's done, there is so much more that goes into actually creating a look and feel that
Yeah.
that really creates the experience, right?
I think it's safe to say you don't enjoy that part then.
I actually, you know what? Give me, yeah. So the short answer would be I don't like that part.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like that part. But you know what? You can give me heavy documents, building codes, bylaws. I will filter it, sift it through, decipher it, interpret it. Break it down in a simplistic way. But give me a catalog of colors and finishes and fixtures is just like, it's mentally draining. It's like, this is like too much options here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when I go to a restaurant, man, I absolutely hate a menu, man. Like, look, not that I hate menus, but I don't like a menu with like 5, 6 pages and different. I want a one-page menu.
Yeah.
Give me that menu because that's
Yeah.
how I'm gonna choose, and I'm gonna quit. You give me this book, I'm like, there's too many options here, right?
Give me like a front and back.
Give me a front and back. I'll be like, yeah, you know what? I'll take the special today, or
Yeah.
I'll take the premium, right?
Nice.
Like, yeah.
So
Yeah. No, but you know what I realized? All those things like, what's it called? Is Twitch?
yeah.
I don't know if Concord is Discord, not Concord. Discord.
Yeah, Discord, yeah.
Discord is another one, and I think, well, of course, you can live stream to YouTube and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So live streams are good. So live streams are good for this purpose. It actually prompts the algorithms to send your content to more people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be pretty. In fact, it should not be pretty. It should be super raw, arms and ahs, and lots of like just random conversations. Because some people are just they spend their time doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, honestly, for me, the reason we started trying this is because like a reel is like 15 seconds, 20 seconds max, like 30 seconds. It's hard to see the personality of someone. Like, at least for me, I feel that like
that's
I
what
can
you should.
speak. Yeah, like I can be very professional. You see me with the tie, everything. But like,
that's not you. That's
yeah,
not
like,
you all the time, right?
yeah, it's not me all the time,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like on a 90-minute
Yeah,
stream,
yeah,
there's no lying,
Yeah,
you know.
but you get the real.
Yeah.
But then that's so true because I listen to, you probably, you listen to podcasts and stuff. You listen to.
Yeah.
So there's this podcast that I listen to called Diary of a CEO. I guess no secret.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Lots of people listen to it. Yeah, the guy have lots of followers. His name is Steven Bartlett. But anyway, super intelligent guy. He's on, I think, the Dragon's Den, or out in the UK or something like that. But anyway, he does like 2 hour long, 2 hour plus long podcast, just like Joe Rogan, I guess. But I don't listen to Joe Rogan. But the thing is, when somebody talks for 2 hours, you really get a sense that they're expert or not. But not only that, they give you so much information. Now you can do your own research. It's like, it's not just this curated little 15 seconds thing. It's like, now they give you so much information, you can make points, make notes. You can actually go and research that and figure out, hey, this person actually knows what they're talking about. And I think like that's actually, I would spend my time looking at YouTube podcasts, by the way, right? I would look at YouTube podcasts any day over any TV show. Because, like it's just way more informative and you get real.
You can actually get real information.
Real information. And I don't think there's anything like that in the there's nothing like that in the construction space and design space. No one is like just basically putting their stuff out there to that extent. So
Yeah.
Good.
We did the Discord thing that you were just mentioning, the like
Oh,
a
really?
Discord community just for like
I don't know how that
commercial.
works, man.
Well, so I was using Slack before, like
Yeah,
Slack,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It's exactly like Slack, but so I wanted to build because basically there's Google is moving towards being away from targeted marketing, so like they're trying to go like for a cookieless world, that's what they say.
Oh, really?
So I will still wanted to be able to communicate with people in the commercial real estate space, like business owners, franchise owners, all that stuff.
So how is AdSense going to work with our cookies?
They're going to do it off of they're going to be doing it off of like age, gender, but those aren't like those things right there aren't like enough for you to target a demographic of like business owners.
Yeah.
Because business owners could be both men or women.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like
Okay, got you.
so doing something like this, like where you have like the community and you're giving value, like the biggest thing I feel like is like actually giving value. To just throw a bunch of people inside of a chat and that's it. Like you gotta be providing some sort of value. Like the way I see it and what we're trying to build out is that like people can come into that chat, connect with people like you. We got to get you set up inside there too. So
Yeah,
like,
cool. Like,
connect with people like you.
I
They may
don't
have a
know.
question.
I don't know. Like, I honestly, oh man, like, content is such a like, um, for me anyway. I actually like producing content because I have so much to say. But I will say I get exhausted from creating constant content. I get it's a mental drain to having to constantly go to these different like so I may have something on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, then I put in a Facebook group, somebody says something, there's somebody commenting on a WhatsApp, and like these things is like it's like I can't. So while I might put out content, so if you're following my stuff, you'll realize
Yeah.
I will put out content heavy for like 2 weeks, and then you'll see how like it slows down dramatically. Why? Because that's when I started to get overwhelmed with like questions and comments and contents and people following up, which is good,
Yeah.
right? Which is good. So I'm just thinking, but then here's my thing is that because I am so specific about my content, I don't necessarily want someone else handling my content. I would rather someone handle anything else. So
Yeah.
I like researching stuff that I know people ask me, and I'm always doing that. But then I like to take that content and then put it into like a simple form that people can understand.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that said, I feel the best form of content for me would be long form, just talking.
Yeah.
Like I can talk about any topic because I'm very fluid about everything that I talk about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about like what was the latest happening in the U.S. economy. Like that's not my thing.
Yeah, it's because you know your stuff, you know your
stuff.
industry, you're knowledgeable in your niche. As I was talking to Jesse before, I was like, we need to get the stream going for this guy because when he talks, it's just information. It's like it's valuable insight into the industry, it's valuable insight into the drawings, all of that kind of stuff.
That's right.
And
you know what? I feel like while podcasts are good, and this is what people, when me and you having, like me and you, we just met. It's like, hey, Nathan, what's going on, bro? Everything's good. Nice to meet you, man. We start talking. It's not going to be like this super targeted conversation where we only talk about like, like if you have kids. No, you talk about family, you talk about like life, budget, economy, and really that's what makes a conversation interesting, even for someone else to listen to, right? It's like it's an array of interesting topics about the person and their take on it, right? So that's what makes it really cool.
I think it's nice. I think there's a lot of stuff even that I learned from you marketing wise and all that kind of stuff. I think that when I first met you, I remember that we were at that event.
Yeah.
It was like we were at this event and every single person was like, you could tell everybody was thirsty. There was not too many drinks coming out, and Ronald had water bottles, branded water bottles with Property Pathways. The little barcode you can scan, take it to like a meeting with him. Like, man, he's on point with everything. I remember I don't know, I think it was a meeting with you or something when I was introducing you to Luca and Arnie, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And every single point of that process was just like, it's like you just compose yourself as such a professional, like through every single point. So I think that was like really cool.
I think it's important to be professional, but also be approachable, right? So
Yeah.
I'm the most approachable person,
Yeah.
but again, I'm ready to do business every time, right? So and unlike most people, who I think we were talking about it earlier on, who can just say, you look at their, if you want to say professional experience, it just goes down a straight line. You can see like they started here as an intern, associate, this, and it's like one job going all the way up. That wasn't me. I was actually the person that worked in a hospital in the design and planning department.
Wow.
Then I worked with a company that fabricated acoustic panels that served huge institutions like cinemas and so forth. So we were designing that. Then I worked with a GC building subways. Then I worked in a water treatment plant. That's what I was telling you about the P and IDs type drawings, looking at process and instrument drawings, actually putting that together, managing that, managing the site. I worked in a procurement department, actually selling jobs, bidding big, huge RFQs and stuff, you know. So my array of experiences took me all different parts throughout the industry. So now when it comes back, it's like, you know, I can speak to many parts and many aspects of construction very intelligently without missing a beat, really, because I've actually done it. You know, what I choose to focus on is kind of the smaller scale missing middle projects, right? And what we are seeing now is that more people are doing those, but as they start small and they start growing out more, they start to focus on even the mixed use aspect of that, because they're ultimately doing that to income generate, or in some cases, in fact, in all cases, in fact, we're working with a client right now that they're developing a medical clinic in a mixed use property that it has some suites that are actually being used by other therapists. They're going to occupy a portion of that space, but then there's a residential component. So again, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
Even though they're operating part of that business, the other aspect of that business is real estate, like landlord, right? So yeah, so we help people build their businesses out.
Wow, that's not, they actually own that whole, like the I guess the whole property there, and they're
Yeah.
just wow, that's nice.
Yeah. So again, and this is what so, you know, while we do missing middle projects, that might be really narrow in scope. We really help people build real estate businesses, right? So if you're planning, if you're a homeowner, or maybe you have a full-time job and you want to know more about this whole thing, like people are making millions in real estate. Well, that's a lie. Like making millions in real estate is actually quite difficult, right?
Yeah.
But with that said, people are definitely doing really creating a solid side hustle and a really lifestyle business using real estate. And in some cases, that's exactly what they're doing. They're buying real estate, mixed use assets, residential assets, commercial, industrial condominium units. They're renting those things out to businesses that are fitting it up and putting other businesses inside of it and so forth. So it's a real business just to lease spaces out, right? And you be the landlord. And in fact, like, you know, I'll say this, you know, having also worked in big real estate as a project manager in real estate, I actually sat in some really good rooms and listened to some really good conversations. And if you really want to do well in real estate, you probably should be looking at commercial and more so as a landlord, but looking at, you know, triple net leases, right? Where it is you're not paying, like the tenant is handling all the taxes, the insurances, and, you know, of course, the maintenance of the property and stuff like
That's nice. Yeah.
that.
You what was that like, I guess, for the whole process of because I'm assuming to go to like to get that zoned to be the clinic and to have all these other things there. You want to can you talk a little bit about that process, what that's like?
Yeah.
This
Well,
also segues, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, like the process of, and again, so I will say this first, is like when you're dealing with projects of that nature, you certainly need to assemble a team, right? A team of people that are obviously experts at doing their various roles. So in some cases, you may need an urban planner, how that comes into play. In some cases, you need to obviously hire a skilled architectural design firm that has the ability to deliver on that project. And you know, the thing is, I say yes to some jobs because I talked about that sort of array of experiences that I have, and I've seen a lot of stuff, right? Even stuff that I probably should not have seen. I mean, in a good sense, right?
Yeah.
But I was exposed to a lot of stuff that really helped me develop as a professional. So, while I talk about small scale residential, I actually really understand commercial. That's the world I come from, right? Like I understand commercial, high rise, hospitals. In fact, the CAMH, I was actually part of the team that contributed to the construction of that as well,
Nice.
right? So I was exposed to a lot of the documentation, the closeouts. Like a lot of people don't know this, but like some of those major projects, especially on commercial, you could actually reach or come to the point of occupancy. So the building is substantially completed. It could be used for what it was designed to be used for. It could be occupied, but it's not closed out, right? The close out process can take years in closing out from a commercial standpoint,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It can take years. And in fact, the team, like the company I worked with at that time, they actually had a close out team.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's a whole team that all they did was point out. So basically, punch list, right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of punches upon punches upon punch list, and then like commissioning all the equipment within the hospital, commissioning.
It's a
And
lot of paperwork
it's a
too.
lot, like
Yeah.
man, stocks and stocks.
Yeah.
Because there's so much other people that need to sign off CSA standards, this standards, that standards, this equipment, call in the supplier. They come and check the equipment to water test, like all these different things is what has to be done on those bigger projects, right?
Yeah.
So it really does add to the timeline. But on this project here, building a team for your project is very important. And in some cases, you may need a closeout team, an architect, depending if there's exterior work, a landscape architect, your engineers, meaning your plumbing, your structural, your HVAC, and so forth. On this particular project, this was an existing building this client purchased, and they wanted to actually add a clinic to it. So there's also a lot of standards with regards to that. There's CSA standards specifically, like really smart people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Really
yeah.
smart people sat down and thought of all of the different things that need to be considered when you're putting in a clinic, airflow and radiation standards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So all these things have to be done to meet CSA standards, but it also have to comply with building code and has to comply with all of the other aspects. The unique thing about this project was that this building itself that I'm talking about, it actually was a property that was considered to be a legal non-conforming. And for anybody that might be listening and that actually don't know what legal non-conforming stands for, is like if you have a building that existed and it was actually built to comply with the land use in a bylaw of that era. And then let's say fast forward to another era, right? So forward in the future, a new bylaw came into effect that discontinued that use. But that building already exists.
Yeah.
So now, essentially, it's non-compliant, but it's legal. So it's non-conforming, but it's a legal use. So you have to prove that. Yeah, so you have to prove that. And as you might say, like, what the hell? This is in the city. The building exists there. The city should know it's like, why go through that process? Mind you, like, there's lots of nuances there, but so this building was a legal non-conforming. So we had to basically prove to the city that the use was continued from the time the property was existing. Because if at any time the use was discontinued, so that it was used as a therapy type of asset.
Yeah.
But if for some reason, maybe sometime between the different eras, the building was changed its use or discontinued, it was somehow vacant for some reason, then it would no longer comply with the use that it initially was built for. And then it would need to comply with the use that is no longer allowed, right? So anyway, long story short is we had to actually go through the process of complying with the Planning Act. So in that case, we actually worked along with an urban planner to provide a planning justification report, which proves that the building existed at the time the use was allowed, and it operated all the way into the new era where it's considered to be not conforming to the bylaw. So they would allow it.
But how do you prove that? Like, how would someone prove that there was no gap in between from when it started to the thing? How do you?
Well, that's why you pay the professionals, and that's why but really, literally, that's why you pay the professionals. That's why you have the team. So, and yes, normally I would say like, that's why you pay the professionals. But the reality is, how you do that is that you have to go back, find the old bylaw that was. So let me use some dates. For example, let's find the old bylaw that allowed a mixed-use building in that parcel of land back in, let's say, 2000, year 2000. And then in year 2020, so 2020, the bylaw changed and they discontinued this use.
Yeah.
Right? So now essentially what has to happen is that you have to go back to this bylaw, find this bylaw that shows that this use was conforming. Then you have to have an affidavit signed. I was just talking about that. You have to have an affidavit signed by someone who occupied the space or leased the space or owned the space, stating that they are now going to, they will stand in court and say like this property actually operated from the time they bought it to the time they divest of it in 2020. And that's where the justification report shows like we can justify that the building was in existence, the use was permitted, it continued throughout that period of time until now as the use, so we can justify that this should continue on into the future.
Right?
Right?
Oh, that's wild. That's,
Yeah.
And like, what is like a process like that? Like length of time for, I guess, for you to collect the information, submit it, and for the review side from the city? Like, well, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so the paperwork process can be intense. The paperwork process can be intense. So the traditional building permit application that the standard building permit application would take for something like that would probably take about 3 months. No, okay, I'll say 4 months, right? From the time you engage a service provider, to the time you get it is just a simple fit up, right? Of a space. You know, they have a kind of a space like this. We just do some reconfiguring on some walls and we put another type of clinic in there. So that would usually take about three to 4 months. But in this case, we have to go. So that process that I just described, that legal non-conforming, is actually we have to go through the process of applying for an extension of use. Extension of use for that use. So this is the use. We want to extend that use now into the future. That's an actual process. So you may have heard of the Committee of Adjustment. Going to the Committee of Adjustment, most people talk about Committee of Adjustment when they're asking for variation from a specific provision in a bylaw, right? Whether it be they want to reduce the front yard setback, rear yard, landscape area, or so forth. In this case, we were asking, you have to go to the Committee of Adjustment as well for this extension of use. So just to kind of talk a little bit about that, the Committee of Adjustment, right? That's where you go to, most people know a minor variance. You go to get a minor variance from the current provisions of the bylaw. And then there's also severance. It's actually called a consent, right? So you see like it's called a consent. So you're going to apply for a consent. So that's when you're planning to actually sever. You purchase a piece of land, you want to sever it. Most people say severance, but the city understand that as a consent, right? To kind of like to convey a parcel of land and so forth. And then there's also, you go there as well for an extension of use. So Committee of Adjustment also deals with an extension of use. So we have to go, so you have to allocate time. So why I want to say that is the Committee of Adjustment process usually involves sending in an application, a completed application, going back and forth with them. They say, okay, we got all the information, we need to consider it. Then they circulate that information internally through a mirror, like there's a ton load of different departments. And then once they have actually circulate that internally, they will send back some comments to you, maybe whatever their thoughts are, whether they object to it or not. But then they also now send out letters to people within 60-meter radius of the property that is requesting a variance or something like that. So it's a public, and then they schedule a public hearing for you now to come and say what it is you want to do. In this case, is nothing evasive. I don't think we'll have any objections from the neighbors because it's a clinic. There's different type of clinics within the building, and it has a residential component. It's been like that for the last, I think we discovered it was like that for the last like 30 years or something like that, right? So we aren't changing anything. All we're doing is going in and asking them to extend this use now further into the future. Why we had to do that? I really don't know. I don't know don't know why exactly. Like I wish I had to. I'm trying to tell them like we don't need to do this.
Yeah.
because the building is, we're not changing the
Yeah,
use or
yeah.
anything. But I think it's because we're applying for a permit to make modifications to the interior. So by the way, that is still up in the air. But let me step back here. So we have to go through the committee of adjustment. That's a 3-month process in itself. So you have to, after they circulate it, that can take about a month and a half. Then you have your hearing date out in the future. Maybe so between you submitting a committee of adjustment application, in this case for an extension of use, to you getting the hearing and they listen to your case, that can take about 2 months, maybe
Wow.
even 3 months in some
Yeah.
cases. Then there's a 20-day appeal period for other people to come in and say like, no, we disagree and so forth.
And where do they go? Just in case people don't know, where do they go to appeal that?
Yes, so they would appeal to, so there's
Or the
different
hearing, I
appeal.
guess.
Yeah, the hearing, you could appeal the hearing, so you have to they'll leave it open for appeals. People would appeal it to the Ontario Land Tribunal, right? So I don't know if they would do that in this case, but I think all appeals would go to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And I want to say there's a lot of nuances there, lots of provincial bills and so forth recently between in the last 3 years. So Bill 23, Bill 185, Bill 17, and all of these bills kind of adjust how people can actually like how they can appeal, what they can appeal, and who can appeal. There's a lot of nuances there, so maybe no one can appeal. I don't know I don't know the full extent of that. But with that said, there is an appeal period where you could appeal, and typically in the past we have had committee of adjustment decisions, so they would either grant it or they would decline it, and if they decline it, you as the applicant could appeal that decline
Okay.
to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and likewise, if they grant it, someone outside, external to you, can appeal it to basically have them reverse it, and then you have to take it to the.
And I'm sure they tell you exactly what reason they didn't prove it.
Oh no, they tell you exactly.
Yeah.
They'll tell you all of the details.
So you can just modify something and then.
Well, once it goes to the Ontario Land, no. So once the decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment, whether it be in favor or not in favor, once that decision is made and an appeal has been registered against that decision, it goes to the Ontario Land Tribunal, or in Toronto, it goes to the TLAB, right? Toronto Land Appeal Board, I think it's called. For them to go through the appeal process. That process is a very litigious type of process. Like it's a lawyer. You have to get a lawyer to represent you.
Yeah.
Right,
Wow.
in that process. So, you don't really want that, right? So
That's when things start to escalate a little bit more and all that, right?
yeah, that's right. That's when things escalate, but not really. It's not really escalated. It's just like me as a designer, I would not take that process forward for the client. I would tell them they need to hire a lawyer, a qualified lawyer who understands that process. I could be their expert representative and to explain why it is what's happening and so forth. But again, the decision that comes out from that appeal process, that is final.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
going back on the second appeal and third
Yeah.
appeal, like there's
Yeah.
none of that, right?
Yeah.
So then after, once we have done that, so that's let's just say in the best case that's a 2.5 month, 3 month process, and then you also have what would be now the permitting process, which is another, as I just mentioned, 3 to 4 months. So you can see how you're in this process for about 6 months.
Yeah.
So this is why I would always, and this is where our advisory really comes in, is like just looking at a property in advance. And we spoke with the client about the odds of all of this happening, by the way, from the onset. So they were mentally prepared that this can take long, right? To actually get them to the point of permitting and get the business, because this is a business he's setting up, operational.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, every dollar counts and so forth. I mean, the good thing with this is that this is a mixed use asset. So he has revenue coming in on the property already.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
And when construction time comes, he's going to decommission some of the other areas and he's going to build his unit in there, where he's still going to maintain some cash flow from the other aspects of the building.
Is he operating already somewhere else at least? Like,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
helps.
that's right. So in a different city.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's a real long process. We guide clients from the onset, from purchasing the property. We give them advisory service. We can't give them advice to purchase or not to purchase a building. They have to make that decision all on their own. But with that said, we will certainly give enough advice that they understand, like with this decision to purchase, here's what will be some of the challenges or not, or lack thereof.
Like something that's always intrigued me. I've heard stories, right? But committee of adjustment wise, like what are some of the things you're running into, whether it's commercial, residential, like that you've run into, you've heard people running into. I've heard crazy things like people not like I remember someone told me a story of they ran into a problem with committee of adjustments on one of their projects. The house looked too modern. Everybody else was like, you know what? All of our houses have like nice red bricks. Yours is coming here with all these windows, like, and then they had to, sway people. They had to throw a little event. But if you can talk about that, I think that'd be super interesting. A lot of people.
Yeah. So that's, I would say that's almost a thing of the past now. So look, in the last 3 years or so, that the whole process has changed. But let me tell you two things. One, the process is the same from the standpoint of how they determine if the committee of adjustment should handle or grant a request, right, for variance or severance or so forth. I'll tell you that. But maybe before that, I'll tell you, I can give you a real top-notch secret here. Like, you can't really share this with anyone, except anyone listening.
Except for all of you guys.
But, listen, this is the top secret here. I'll give you the secret of how to make sure that you always get your variance granted when dealing with the committee of adjustment, is that you simply never go to the committee of adjustment. Always try your best never to go to the committee of adjustment, because why? Your decision can definitely get denied.
Yeah.
So when we're working with clients, we just simply tell them how it is they could create an as of right use. In some cases, an as of right meaning like they don't have to make any variation from the current bylaw. So they're not asking for anything different.
Yeah.
It's exactly what the bylaw asks for and exactly what you're delivering. In some cases, you have to make some sacrifices. Like you might have to say, okay, I may not be able to put a window in this wall on a commercial building, or I may have to reduce the amount of suites because I don't have the amount of parking. So we're not asking them to reduce parking or so forth in the form of a variance. You just simply reduce the amount of units, rental suites in your commercial building, so that way you don't have to provide that much parking, right? So this is how we'd always approach it. And we'll explain to the client, look, if you want to do this, here's how you can go about it. But just know, once you go into the committee of adjustment, you're basically left the decision up to a group of folks that are not necessarily experts in the field.
Yeah.
Right? Because the committee of adjustment is basically, in fact, I think Toronto is actually selecting their group of nominees, something like that, for their committee of adjustment in Toronto, City of Toronto. This like I think in sometime anyway, in the near future.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a group of people, residents of Toronto. Anyone can apply, right?
Yeah.
Your grandma.
Wow, I actually didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, your grandma who's a good cook. She can say, you know what, I wanna go help my neighborhood out, right?
Yeah.
And she can put in an application and become a committee of adjustment.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's not professional. It's not professional.
That's actually crazy.
And
like to leave it up to people like that.
You leave. And so this is why the provincial government, through these various acts, are saying like, forget it. Like, we're not going to leave these important decisions to create housing and create businesses to a group of people that are not experts in the field.
Yeah.
And in fact, they can, so remember I explained to you, when you go to the committee of adjustment, they circulate it internally first, right? They hand it out to all the internal department and divisions, to the staff that work for the city, that are experts essentially, that are reviewing these things. Staff may come back and say, for example, you know what, we actually don't think that we don't have any objections. Let me use one for example. Toronto Waste Collection may say, let's say you put a development up, Toronto Waste Collection may come and say, like, you know what, we have no objections to this development here. Everything should just stay as is. We can handle the extra waste that would come from this development, right? Let's say in a commercial facility, let's say they say like, oh, you know what, there will be needles or something like that. So like, yeah, we don't have any problem. They just have to basically get our, toxic department or division. I'm just talking off the top here. I don't know exactly, right? But let's just say the professionals, the people that run that aspect of the of the city,
Yeah.
they say we are okay. They check the box. They say we are okay. We are recommending that the committee of adjustment approve this application.
Yeah. Wow.
When that goes into the committee, they can look at us and say, no,
No way.
no. We disagree. We disagree because we still think it will have too much garbage.
Yeah.
So we decline the application. And I'm saying this in a very joking manner, but
Yeah.
this is the reality. This is the
Yeah.
reality. Like they have the ultimate decision making power.
But are committee of adjustments like in areas, or is it like, because you said like it could be people from the area just like going there and joining the committee of adjustments. Are committee of adjustments technically like, are there various committee of adjustments for various areas?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So in Toronto, so let's talk about Toronto. I mean,
Yeah.
so every municipality have their own committee of adjustment. So their committee that deals with adjustments to the bylaws, committee of adjustment. So every municipality have it. If you have a city, for example, we'll look at Toronto, but let's look at Durham, for example. Durham have like there's like Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, Clarendon, right? So maybe Bowmanville or something like this, right? So those all have their own committees. They all have their own committee of adjustment. Now let's look at Toronto. So Toronto have four, like the former municipality amalgamated. They then subdivided into four, if you want to say community council areas. So you got the Scarborough, you got the York, you got the Etobicoke, and then you have the Toronto East York. So that's four committees. So if you're within the borders of those committees, I'll have to show you on a map what that is. Yeah, but if you're within those bounds, if your property falls within those, you would have to speak to the various committees within those community council areas. So yeah, so there's multiple in Toronto alone, the GTA, right? I don't know what you call it, GTA Toronto, whatever. There's four like areas, right? That your property can fall within, and you would be speaking to a different group of committee members. Some are more stringent, but also I'll say like committee of adjustment hearings themselves are very it varies. It varies. Some are more relaxed. Like for example, you might go. It just depends. But I find committee of adjustment groups or committees that serve that function in rural communities are more relaxed than in cities. Like that's what I find, and we have a number of those. Now,
I could see that for sure.
As far as absolutely 100%.
So a lot more people in the city too, So
some more people, but also they I don't know, maybe it's a part of like, remember I told you these are just community members, right?
Yeah.
Somebody just came from the bakery and then they have to go sitting on a committee of adjustment.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe they want to be like, now nobody goes to their bakery to buy any more buns. Yeah. Right. So
are these things like capped? Like, are you like, what are we talking? Are we talking like 15 people on committee of adjustments, 30? 5? Like, are these like, is it like these committee of adjustments is a bunch of people? How many? If you don't know the number, it's okay too. It's just
there's no number. It just depends on the city. Yeah. I guess every city will have a certain amount of people they want on each of those committees. So committee of adjustment, kind of like if you like, and again, I'm not a politician, but I actually really like looking at this stuff. By the way, I spend at least about, I would say maybe about an hour, maybe almost every day.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Like just looking at committee meetings in various cities, reviewing different applications and so forth that actually might be, that I think is important for my clients to know of and things like that. So I mean, some cities have committees that have 4, 5, even up to 6. Some even have up to 3. Just depend on the town that you're working in. I think one of the things that I want to mention, give me a second.
No worries.
As far as the committee of adjustment. So committee of adjustment, they vary from city to city and region to region in terms of size and so forth, and even in terms of the decision that they would be flexible with or not. But one of the things that doesn't change and is actually part of their procedure, right, is how they review these. Now, most people will, it's supposed to be a very objective thing, right? But it's really, I think it just leaves a lot of room for subjective sort of opinionated type of analysis. So there's four things that I look at. So the committee of adjustment has to actually pass what is called a four test,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just like how you would be like, hey, if I hire a client, the client must have money to pay me, one, right? They must have a proper project that, they can't be wanting to build a power generation plant. Like, I don't do those. So, like, that's kind of the second test. So you have like your kind of things that you go through and like, okay, if it passes these four tests, I'm going to move to the next stage. I'll qualify my client. Well, it's the same thing they do with variances that you request, right? So they would ask you, like, does the project meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw? That would be one. And in any order, I'm saying these, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second one in any order would be, does it meet the general intent of the official plan? Those are two legal documentation within the city. So that's kind of like, okay, you know what, the general intent, like general intent is also leaving room for subjectivity. Like general intent, like, well, is it or is it not, right?
Yeah.
So then the official plan as well, same thing. Then the third one in any order is, does it kind of meet the form or the character of the neighborhood? Does are we putting up glass walls and all the other properties in the neighborhood is all brick buildings, right? I
Yeah.
think you're
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that, right? So it's like, does it kind of mesh with the character of the neighborhood? And then the fourth one again in any order is like, does it meet? Is this considered to be minor in nature?
Mm.
Right? Is it minor? So is it minor? Like, what's minor to me is not minor to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, so you get these. So that's why city staff looks at the facts, the
Mm-hmm.
regulations, the reports, the results.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the committee is looking at this set of four tests that is, as you can see, is like, is it meet the general intent? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, so is it meet the character of the neighborhood? Well, this guy has a glass building, this guy doesn't. So now you, as the person making the application, have to really try to mm, try to address these quasi type like objective statements.
Yeah.
So you have to prove that all these things are met, even though city staff may say this I would support this. You have to now prove this to the committee. So it's never always like a home run. It's like, even though staff said they will support it, you have to still prove that this meets this four test.
Yeah.
And that's what it is you're explaining to the committee when you go in. You're not saying to them, well, my drawings have been supported by staff. They care, but they don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't meet the four test,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
Could you prove that?
are you showing this with like are you submitting a document to them that answers these questions, or are you just, is this a verbal thing, like when you go to the committee of adjustments to either like appeal it or whatever it is?
Yeah, exactly. So as you like, just like any court, you're simply going in there with documentation to prove your case,
Mm-hmm.
right? That it meets these four things. So you could be a presentation, a visual presentation. It could be an oral presentation. You could have other people supporting letters, like a sort of a petition
Mm-hmm.
from the neighborhood, from people that support it. You could have your counselor come and support it and say, like, yeah, I support this type of thing. You can have other professionals come and speak on your behalf, but of course, they would have to register to speak on behalf of the project. So there's lots of ways that you can prove these cases,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to try to explore as many of them. If you which is going to, every little bit kind of increases the likelihood of it being successful or being granted as a variance. So in the case of the project, the commercial project that we're talking about here, this mixed use project, in order for us to get the extension of use, we have to provide a justification report, a planning justification report from an urban planner, a registered urban planner. We have to have an affidavit from the previous owner of the property, signed, dated, with a few statements saying like they validate that this building was operated as such and until the time that they sold it. We have to provide them with drawings and documentation showing all the architectural plans, how it's laid out. I think you have a copy of those as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How it's actually laid out, how it's presented, how it doesn't alter the building in any way or form. Right? So these are all the things that we're using. In addition to that, we have reached out to the mayor of the city. We have reached out to the local councillor. while this is not an intrusive type of request, we just asking to extend the use of a building that's been there forever,
Yeah.
right? Like we're not asking to change the use of anything, just to extend the use. So but because the use is so important, meaning the person has, I don't want to say all his eggs in one basket, but the client really needs this to be successful. So we are pulling out all the stops and basically making sure that we have everybody lined up. We have things that are all set up to ensure the likelihood of success on this application. So that's why it is so important. That's why it's so important.
Would because there's something happening in the area that I'm from, where it's like I think the government's trying to put some affordable housing, and everybody in the area is basically they're signing a petition now to not get that done there. Would a petition play any sort of role in this? Like, I guess if like let's say the committee, I guess the committee of people from the area can prove, let's say that a lot of people don't want it, larger than a 60-mile radius, or the vice versa.
60 meter.
60 meter, yeah, 60 meter.
A
So
60
like,
mile would be like the whole of,
Yeah.
the whole of like a Barry, they're receiving letters. It's like,
yeah. Yeah. So if like either way, like could a petition work or anything like that, or
Yeah. So all the time, petitions are usually a huge part of like committee of adjustment type hearings. Now, in a case like this, there's so much at play, right? When you're talking about an affordable home development. So, and I'm again, I don't know all these specifics, but just generally speaking, affordable housing, no one wants affordable housing in their backyard.
Yeah.
In fact, you probably heard the term NIMBY.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Not in my backyard. So nobody wants NIMBYs. They're like, NIMBYs. They don't want anything built in their backyard, and their backyard, not necessarily, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
the
yeah,
neighborhood,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But especially they don't want affordable housing because there's kind of a negative connotation. Like affordable housing is somehow poor people are coming into my neighborhood. They're going to turn my good neighborhood into a ghetto, into, and I'm using these terms because this is how people think about affordable housing, right? Which is unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate. These type of properties, a lot of people don't want these properties in their neighbors. But these are really well-built properties that actually support a lot of needed housing. So that's on the side of people who oppose the development, right? Then and then there's a lot of other things that they could oppose, but they generally don't want those buildings in their neighborhood. The government usually is saying, well, we want those built. We're in a housing crisis, and that is a segment of the population that we need to provide housing for. People that need affordable housing, they have to live somewhere. They can't just live in parks, and they can't live in housing accommodations that are not suitable, right? Because they have families and stuff like that, right? So the government is saying, we will fund these type of housing, right? We will start these development. And a lot of times, the affordable housing is classified as housing that is essentially only uses or requires you to spend up to 30% of your income. So if you make $1,000 a month, you're only required to spend $300 on housing. On that particular housing, that's what affordable is, right? And then of course there's other type of housing. So in terms of affordable housing, I think they're changing the naming from affordable housing to community housing.
Yeah.
So it's just like it doesn't sound so bad,
Yeah.
but it's not bad at all, right? It's not bad at all, right? Especially if they're well managed. I think that's what's more important is the management of those properties is what needs to be handled well, so that the long term sort of value of it continues to be positive for the community, right? So yeah. So I mean, the reality is, nobody wants, these guys don't want it in their backyard. The government wants to support it. The builders are now, the housing crisis requires that we actually put those housing type properties in these communities all throughout. It's a good, and while, so here's something that I don't think anybody's talking about, but I'll share this here. I think this is interesting, right? Like, big pension funds, right? Maybe, hopefully no one comes and hunts me down for this, but, but like really, like big pension funds, They're investing billions and billions of dollars across the world to bring return back for the funds that they're receiving to support people's pension. So grandma and auntie that lives across the street, uncle, those people who don't want anything built in their backyard, no affordable housing, is actually getting their pensions funded by investments in affordable housing across the world,
Wow.
right? Because those pension funds are investing in affordable housing.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a guaranteed form of income that can support the paying out of these pensions, right? So, you hate something that you're already doing.
Yeah.
You just don't want to understand. Like, so really and truly is something that is unfortunate. This is something that we're already doing. But people don't look at it that way. But you be an investor, you come and you build one of those buildings, they're like, they don't want investors. Well, everyone's investing in the same thing. Just some people are building it there,
Yeah.
and you are just doing it through a third party, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you're still funding your retirement in the same fashion,
Yeah.
right? So
Crazy stuff.
yeah. So yeah, man. But with that said, it's a big world out there when it comes to investing in real estate, right? And developing properties. Everyone can do it. You obviously need to hire the right team, right?
That's for sure. Especially after talking to you now, for sure they need to have the right architect, everything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get the right team together, because if you don't,
Let's take a look at this.
it's gonna drag on for sure. Okay, so whichever one you handed over
So
to me.
they're both essentially the same. There's just a minor change on one based on, so as as we talked about, the client kind of wanted to see what a variation of one of the options would be. So it's the main entry, the main area, where it is the patients are going to be, that was changed. So they're essentially the same.
Yeah, so basically, guys, we're going to take you guys through right now one of his designs, and for the clinic that he was speaking about before. So I'll pop that up on screen.
Yeah, so
If you
this
could,
is
like,
just, this
yeah.
is sure. So this is the entry here. You come into the building, the entryway. This is the waiting room. There's some infection control stuff, safety lights you can see up on the wall. We're heading here into the reception area. So as you come into the building, you check in with reception. We wanted to create a little bit of privacy there.
I saw that there was like a arc there.
Yeah, so that's all existing. So that's what existing is actually made from brick. I don't know how, that's the existing sort of construction in the building. So we didn't want to demolish too much, because again, we don't know what the structural ramifications of doing that would be. And we're always taking constructability in mind. So form follows function, follows feasibility, financial feasibility, but then there's constructability as well that we need to take into account. So we don't want to start demolishing stuff, because he demolishes that wall. That's a brick arch.
Yeah.
You don't see that here. And
You
going
can
back
kind
to
of
the
tell,
wall,
yeah.
yes, because brick arch. So we actually don't want to mess around with that. We don't know how that plays into the structure of the building. It's just going to remain in place. Now, the client did ask that question, could we remove that? I said, sure, we could potentially consider it, but that would mean us going into this functional space where you have occupants, tenants, and doing kind of a bit of a demolition, right?
Yeah.
Remember we did some selective demolition,
Yeah.
which would then require us to, tear some things out, maybe put it back together, but now it's dusty and there's still some medical uses in there, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to leave that as is. Yeah. And by the way, to look really nice, you see you can see everything is all monochromatic, right? Like, that's how I like to see things, by the way.
Yeah.
But with that said, no colors. Of course, they're going to use different paint finishes and stuff like that. But we just like to show this in this manner, the way I was shown, because it don't detract away from the actual space. Of course, that space will be layered with so many finishes. Like, you can go crazy in there, right?
Yeah. I think not many people even do this,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is great. Having a little walk through the thing.
And then you can see that little window right there, that little window there. So that's going to be a window from the reception area into which you'll see soon, kind of the first evaluation area. So that way, patient comes in, the reception kind of looks up their file, be like, oh yeah, this is whoever's file. They pass it through to that person and say, okay, James is going to be coming in soon. And you'll see where James kind of enter from there. The patient enters into. So you come out of the reception area. everywhere has to have like infection control, so those hand washing stations or hand sanitizing stations. And we come in here, and this here is where it is you enter into, this is will be the evaluation area. So on this option, closed space, again, security lights and so forth.
Are you required to have a sink inside there? Is that a sink?
Yeah, so the sink is part of the infection control. So as part of the CSA document, you need to have some form of infection control. So where you're touching and interacting with patients, you can't like, so you can't transfer whatever things like, bacteria or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to wash your hands properly, and that can be done either using hand sanitizing like liquid or actual water and soap.
Do they make you go to the extent of like, because I know there's obviously different type of hand sinks. Like there's the one with the handles, there's one with the one that you use your knee. Do they require like the knee one at all or anything like that?
So yeah, so obviously, of course, touchless is going to be better. You just push your hand, and it's done like that. Even sanitizing soap and everything like that. So yeah, absolutely. The less surfaces you can touch is the less infectious diseases can get transferred. Where do I know this from? Again, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like after working for a year in a hospital, planning and design, one of the strangest things most people maybe don't know, but you probably know this, but you never really took it into account. But most people, when you go to a hospital, the hospital could be newly built, and you would see like there's construction happening. You're like, wasn't this thing just built and commissioned and operational?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is there construction vehicles always around here? Well, they're like within a hospital, there is different type of clinics, different type of surgery rooms and things like that. And they are constantly shuffling around things. Like they're moving the endo suite down to this suite, to this suite. They're moving the lunchroom, the mailing room. They're just moving things around. Yeah. And these guys have budget for it, by the way. Yeah. So my role there was just to constantly keep, like, we had like 50 projects. So within every kind of department, there is like their director. And then, so their director may say like, okay, we're experiencing a slowdown or we're experiencing an increase in people with broken backs, whatever, right? Yeah. And they're like, we need to make a bigger suite or we need to add another suite. So they may say, okay, you know what? Let's reduce the size of the mail room and we'll put a second suite for people with broken backs. Wow. Like, let's say, right? Yeah. So now so they're looking at these needs and they're constantly shuffling around those spaces. So that's where I get an understanding of like all this infection control and like how it's actually done. It was an amazing experience, and the way how these drawings are done is very different from like a building permit drawings. So we're not submitting these to the building department. This is all internal, it's all interior, and it's all approved internally, right? Yeah. So
nice. That I didn't know, but it makes perfect sense. The infection control, So we're going through the door, I guess now.
Yeah. So now this is kind of the recovery area. So you can see like there's a desk there.
Are these like each sectioned off for the
so exactly. So after the patients get treated, they go into a recovery area. Maybe they're fine. They can just walk around. But you essentially have to give them an area just to sit down. They're going to monitor them for maybe about 30 minutes just to make sure there's no adverse effect from the medication that they just received. Yeah. And they sit down in there and they're like, okay, everything is fine now. Okay, now you can go and you can check out, fill your final paperwork out, come back in 3 weeks, right? Something like that. So that area there, we're showing 3 bays. So we have to have a certain, like all these things are all kind of defined in the CSA, Canada Standards Association document that shows how these clinics are supposed to be outlined. So, as a commercial contractor, it's good that you become familiar with these as well, because these are things that you can now, add value in the conversation as well, right? Yeah. So you're explaining like this is what we need. These barriers need to be also durable, kind of like wipeable surface or something like this, right? And so forth.
Like the wall text, the wall.
Wow. Whether, exactly. Using eggshell paint or using material that don't do staining, they don't absorb, again, infectious diseases and stuff like that. Yeah. So maybe someone shows up on like a fabric, like things like that, or so things of that nature. The chairs and stuff has to be chairs that won't basically hold infection and stuff.
Is there anything with the lighting, or can you just do any kind of lights, or is there like a standard light you have to use, or?
No, so there's no standard lighting, but there is a certain amount of lux. So how light is measured. There's a certain
Okay.
amount of lux that you need within the space.
Within
Luminance.
the recovery or
Within the recovery space. Yeah, that's right. So it's outlined. This is actually I want to say this is in the building code. This is in the building code, the minimum lux you required. But the CSA document will outline like what type of lighting you need within each space. But essentially, like if you look, we're in this space here. Like this is sufficient enough lighting for what we need here, right? But of course, you can put dimmers on and things like that. But lighting is regulated. By the way, that is also another one of the experts that you can hire. You can actually hire a lighting engineer, someone to engineer the light, because light, I was looking at some show recently. They were doing a restaurant, and like so apparently, like lighting creates like not apparently lighting creates mood, but the mood it creates you may not think. So, like see how this light is here. This is like task lighting. It's good it's good for working. It's bright.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't set the mood for a romantic dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Not unfortunately not.
So this would be kind of odd, right? But so if you want to create lighting to set the mood for a romantic dinner setting, you essentially want lighter lighting. Even the hue of the lighting can be a different color. So I suspect there's all these other things that can go into this, like what type of lighting is good for healing, for recovery, to keep people calm. Like you can probably do all that stuff in there, but honestly, you just need lighting for work setting, right? Yeah. It's a work building. You can recover and you can revitalize in a different setting. So yeah. So so this here. So as you come in here, the area off to the right is the universal washroom. So now when you come back here, this is a newly created space. You have a second evaluation room. So here we have this kind of thing that you just go and evaluate on.
Same thing with the sink.
The same thing with the sink in there as well. We have an actual sink here. Your deductors are actually touching you and so forth. Again, this could very well be replaced with hand sanitizing. So there's another body. There's the Ministry of College, like for surgeons, that actually they have also input on this design, right? They're gonna say like, yeah, I like the idea of hand sanitizer, but while that's allowed by the CSA, we want you to go above and beyond. We want to say hand washing, like sink in here, like an actual hand washing sink and so forth. So they can actually add their extra commentary based on their working experience. And generally, someone that has retired or probably in that specific role, they would have the opportunity to review it. I mean, I don't know if it's a peer review it's called, I don't know. But they would review it and they would say like, hey, you know what? This is good. But I actually would like to see this here based on my experience functioning in a space like this. Is what I'd like to see. And by the way, I actually went out to another clinic that this person is developing, and I actually looked at the clinic, how it was laid out, and some of the things that were in there, and I said, okay, you know what, this is good. This is the stuff that I'd like to see. So
yeah, that's actually I do the same thing with franchises. If they're opening up a second or third location, I like to go to the first location, see what it's like, and just talk to them, see what works, what didn't work from the other location.
Exactly. No, that's very important. That's good information. So yeah, so here is the the evaluation room, get infection control. The doors and stuff, of course, need to be like that, self closers on all the doors. So this here is kind of, if you want to say, the service area, this service room area. So you have a locker room with sorry, not a locker room, a storage area here, right? So we have a little storage area. So this is where they can store all their products and stuff like that. And then they come out here. They have another little hallway. So this is looking back out. But you have another little hallway here. You have a kitchen and a washroom here. So this is the kitchen area. This is a small little, there'll probably be about maybe 4 people, 5 people maximum occupying the space. No need for us to have like multiple, different sort of male washroom, female washroom. This one washroom would suffice. And we have a universal washroom in here as well. But this is kind of the big space here. This is kind of where most of the work is going to happen. So yeah, so we actually set this room up to meet all the CSA standards. Needed to be a certain size.
What was that? The last thing there?
Yeah, so that's the last room.
So this is which portion?
Yeah, so this is the actual. This is what's happening here in this space. like so this is actually an X-ray room, right? So there's a lot of lead walls and ceilings that we have to put in there that we have to basically that whole space have to be wrapped with the whole. It has to be a lead box essentially. There's a supplier that actually provides that type of material so it can be installed, and then that's third party verified as well when it's installed. So yeah, because is a fluoroscoping machine is going to be there. Yeah.
Wow. And then obviously the client's supplying all the machines, all that.
Oh yeah. So we aren't like in fact I'm not even I'm just concerned about the design and the flow of the space. Because again the CSA document really outlines how the space should flow. Right? Like what area should be exposed to others, who should be where and so forth. So it just kind of lays that out and we just take those information, plug it in. Again, that's what it is we do. People think of design as this really fancy thing, but design is really following regulations. That's really what it is. Rules and regulations. Yeah.
You gotta be knowledgeable on those for sure.
You have to know what those are. Yeah.
I think you want to take a quick second break to, I think, get that going. I think yeah, you're getting, honestly, at this point, my neck, looking at Ronald like this for the whole, I don't even know how long that was. I have no track of time.
Yeah.
My neck is broken over here.
Turn your neck. You should turn your chair like 40. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really feel this light today. I ain't gonna lie to you. Today, I understand now why they have this soft
it's in
cover.
the eyes, right? Yeah.
My left eye is shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a lighting kit online, Facebook Marketplace, $100 for I think it was like 5 or 6 lights. Okay. Yeah. Not bad. Did I send it to you? That's strange. Oh shoot! Wow, I thought I sent it to you last night. I messaged him and he said it's still available. Did he? He's like I need the money. Yeah. Yeah. We'll do a little outro and then we'll. Yeah.
Okay, so I would need to let me see here. So based on if I go to that place, I need to leave. So I have to be at that station 10 minutes away. I have to be at that station for 3:45. That's Richmond. That's northbound. Longstaff. Why is it saying that? Sorry, 1 second here.
No worries.
Yeah, Longstaff. So Longstaff is actually so Longstaff is 10 minutes to Longstaff station, and then the train goes downtown. When I go downtown, I hate driving down there, man. I also hate driving. Driving is one pain in the neck. I mean, I get to listen to lots of content, but
recently for me, I had to buy that. Am I closing the door? Sorry, Jesse. Thanks, man. Because I had to buy that third car now. I was like, if I'm gonna buy this car, like I might as well learn something new. So I ended up buying a manual car.
Oh, nice.
So like I can at least gain something from this experience.
I miss driving manual cars, man.
The worst thing though is driving downtown. That is like I hate driving manual.
Clutching.
It's all the time. It's just switching. It's like I don't condone driving and using your phone, but sometimes you get like a call and you're like there's too much going on. I couldn't imagine trying to drink something or.
Oh man, I used to actually own a Ford Probe GT.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was really nice. But this was much younger. I used to spend so much time in scrap yards, bro. I was always fixing that car.
Yeah?
I was fixing that car. I was always I would buy an off-market manifold, for example. I would go to the scrap yard with my toolbox and I would dismantle other cars with a similar setup.
Yeah.
So that I know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And then I would go home and then add for my manifold. And yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was doing my own mechanics on that car.
Wow.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my girlfriend's brother. Every time I go to her house, he is on fixing something in his car.
Yeah.
Like trying to get a screw loose that hasn't been loose in 10 years on his car. You know, he bought a car for like, I think it was 1700, like an old Honda Civic. Looks pristine. He's always fixing something.
Oh, wow.
Like every time I'm there, he's like putting oil on something, or like I always see him with the screws. I was like, oh, this screw won't come out. And it's like, dude, like I swear you've taken that screw off 3 or 4 times now. Like, you know?
That's what those, when you have those cars, those older cars, man, something is, especially like, yo, to be like, you know, taking your brakes out and stuff. That brake seemed to be jammed in there like that. What's it called? The rotors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad I'm done with that. Like after, like, you know, honestly, after buying a new car, I was like, I didn't even know how the hell I was managing. Like, I used to buy, before my motto was to buy, I mean, pun intended, was literally to buy old cars with old motors and basically run it for like 6 months to the ground. When it stops working, I would go buy another old car. And I used to fix all my cars. And then after, as I say, buying a new car, I was like, you know what? This actually makes sense. You mean the dealer is gonna like fix my car for me instead of drive it in there and then I like do it?
Yeah.
And I never look back. It's like
Kind of scared to drive him now. He's an experienced driver, manual. You know, you'll instantly. I've been in manual driving for 2 months. You're gonna instantly be able to tell my mistakes.
No, 2 months,
man,
2
come
months,
on.
2 months you're good. 2 months you're good, bro. And my way home, I actually went and I used to live in Brampton at the time. I actually bought a manual car. I had a friend drove me to Oshawa now, right?
Yeah.
Drove me to Oshawa. I went and I bought the car there. I picked it up. And I drove that car back to Brampton on the highway.
Really?
Bro, and I never drove a manual car. That car was jerking up in the back street.
That was like me driving here. When I bought the manual car, I had to come to the office the next day. It took me an hour and a half to get here when it only should have taken me like 30, 45 minutes, you know? And every time a red light would happen, I'd be like, no. I turned off the feature. I didn't want to go on the highway. You're brave. I didn't go on the highway.
I know, the highway was, man, just imagine driving from Oshawa all the way up Steeles or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's too far, man. So but I would say I learned to drive the stick shift. So you can learn to drive it, no problem, in about maybe, I would say about 3 hours. You can learn to drive it.
Yeah.
But then where I was living in Brampton, I actually had to go. I don't know if you know Brampton on Steel.
I know a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
So there's a big on Highway 7. There's a big hill at the bottom of Islington. Right? Okay. There's a huge incline, and I had to drive up that hill every single day. And guess what? That hill always had traffic.
Ooh.
That hill always, you're on a hill and you're trying to balance your clutch. Oh my goodness! So I actually got at the time anyway. I was really good. I haven't driven standard now. Is now going on almost about maybe 8 years, 9 years now. So. Yeah. So, but yeah, standards is fun. It's fun, especially when even today I drive my car. We're using Tiptronic.
Yeah.
I just find it like it's just more control I have to get my acceleration.
Yeah, I kind of after I started driving for a while, like I built a love for it. You know, like sometimes I watch Formula, the F1 movie.
Oh yeah.
So I left the movie theater there. I'm just like, oh, okay, let me go play around with this thing now. You know, it felt nice, huh? Oh, it was a great movie. Yeah, it was good. It was definitely. I like the fact that I think it was because Lewis Hamilton was the producer. It kind of showcased more about Formula One, like the way the cars go. Like it was kind of more in depth. You know, like it was nice. It was good. They're definitely going to do a second movie. Yeah, they're definitely doing a second movie.
So I like F1.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just watching it. I was watching some stuff about Lewis Hamilton and saying Verstappen is really eating his lunch now. He can't seem to.
He's been out of the podium for a while.
Yeah,
now.
He's out. Like I seen even since he left Mercedes, he's still like it's like he's been saying it's the car. I mean, look, you know what? Verstappen has kind of been trying to eat his food for a while, and now it's like what's the other guy? I forget this other guy, Mercedes guy. I see his Mercedes by the guy who used to drive it in Mercedes. Oh, I forgot his name.
Bottas or something.
No. Well, anyway, I forgot his name. Anyway, he wasn't the big ticket, right? Like so, but he actually got the podium. I think even probably more than Lewis.
Wow.
This year.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, he really fell from like Because he won. He won the whole thing.
Well, he have like I think it's 8 championships. Like that's like I think he's tied for the most, and I think he just need to do one more, and then he's. But he's is the car, is the brakes, is the drug, is the It's like, man, like just you got to figure it out. If you want to be the greatest, this is what's gonna make you the greatest.
Yeah,
you got to make a comeback, right?
When did they retire? He's probably around like what 30 now or something.
Yeah. He's a multi-millionaire many times over. That's the most expensive sport, right?
You know how I looked it up how much it was to like now teams are worth like $1 billion or like. But the ongoing cost, I think it was, they capped it now at $150 million a year. For each team can only invest 150 because they said that some teams were investing way more and the other teams didn't have as much money, So
yeah, those guys, those cars are fast, but they're not the fastest cars, but they're fast. And when I went to Montreal F-150.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man, those machines are freaking quick.
Yeah.
I looked. There's a friend who introduced me to it. The same guy who's gonna be doing the film on Saturday. He actually he introduced me to it. He's like, yo, let's go check it out. I was like, man, like I don't want to see cars drive. I want to drive cars.
Yeah.
I want to be the one driving it. It's like I don't think this is gonna be interesting. Anyway, so we got there. So I walked up to the thing or whatever. I got on there. The race didn't start as yet. They just have like the other cars. By the way, there's like the fastest, like kind of, what do they call them? Production cars. Usually like are on the track as well. Meaning like they're kind of like the flag cars and the bro, like those Mercedes. There's other vehicles there. Like it's like what? Yeah. And those guys like they're on a track, so they just mash that straight up. Yeah. They flow in those vehicles. Those vehicles are powerful. But when I'm sitting there chatting, we all in a group, we chatting and stuff. And then, bro, the race starts. So they're going around and they're making their wrongs and so forth. And then after, so I'm hearing the car coming. I'm like, oh, car coming. I'm not paying any attention. So I'm just continuing talking. Bro, when those vehicles pass by you, you have no choice but to pay attention.
Yeah, for sure.
Those vehicles, like they snatch your attention because they move so quick, but they're so loud when they pass close to you. Yeah. It's like unbelievably loud. You're like, there's not like because remember this is like a small track, and you really only have like a small window of time to catch them, right? And I would say, bro, those vehicles come so quick. It's in your eyesight. The sound is violent. The sound is very loud. And the visually, you really only see it for like maybe like milliseconds. Like it goes so fast,
especially on the straightaway.
And we actually were right around the corner because that's where we got the tickets for, because we knew when they come around. Because if you catch them on the straightaway, you're not gonna catch them. You're not gonna catch a lot because they come around the corner and they just basically when they come to the corner, they brakes in. When those cars brake, like sparks are flying off the ground. Yeah. Like that's how much like, oh man, it's so awesome, man. Like if you haven't seen it. Yeah. The other thing that I thought was three machines that I saw that I was really impressed with. The F1 cars, amazing. Like it's like why man would make something like that. Yeah. That thing just seems so dangerous, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Monster trucks. Have you ever seen a monster truck?
Yeah.
Those things are loud, bro.
Yeah.
Those things are loud. And the Raptor, bro. You ever seen the Raptor, the F-22?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, not Raptors. The Raptor, like F-22.
Like the plane. Yeah.
Ooh,
that
boy.
Is crazy, yeah.
That thing is like next level crazy. I've never seen anything that was so. Those 3 pieces of like equipment, I'm like, wow. Like what else could we make, man? Like those things are so powerful in their own right, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%. F1 is a dangerous sport. Like, you're going that fast, but you can't touch anything.
But those guys driving skills is so good.
Yeah.
It's premium.
They have to know exactly where the car is, like
all times,
because they're going in and out of turns, like coming this close to hitting something. If they hit that thing, boom, they're losing control and they're flying out.
And you have basically like a little helmet on.
You're seated like this.
You're on the ground.
Yeah. You crash like this, you're done. there goes your
Oh,
legs, your legs.
Oh yeah.
Like,
But thankfully, no one have gotten hurt since
Yeah,
I've been
exactly.
watching. That's really good.
so I think we'll call it quits here. You know,
Yeah.
Ronald, thank you for coming, man. And
Yeah,
if you
no.
wanna definitely say anything on your business and
Yeah.
let them know what you're up to.
Yeah, cool. Like, I'm always. It's live right now?
Oh,
Yeah.
we're still going.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, shit.
We're going out like that on Formula One.
Oh, yeah. Okay. On Formula One, we're going out fast, right?
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, no, like I mean, it's really it's good. Hey, whoever is listening, like it's really good that you guys are. Any questions? Feel free to drop me a line. You can check me out on Instagram, Property Pathways, or you can check me on LinkedIn as well, Property Pathways. I'm always happy to answer any questions when it comes to bylaws and building code related items. When it comes to design, I'm a wealth of information. Don't hesitate to reach out. And of course, you can certainly reach me through my good friend here, Nathan Olive Tree. Thanks a lot for having me, man. Really appreciate it. It was a good conversation. Yeah, certainly.